Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm joined here today by Steven Nover, who is an NFL draft guru. Steven knows the NFL draft much better than I do. I wanted to have a quick chat with him here today. The NFL draft's just a few days away. This has gotten to be a much bigger betting event than it was years ago. And Steven, I'm happy to be able to talk to you today. How are you doing?
I'm fine, Kyle. It's always great to talk to the totals guru.
Well, I guess if you're going to label me that, then you're the NFL draft guru. But I think what was it? Maybe 5, 10 years ago, there wasn't nearly the popularity for betting the NFL draft as what there has been in recent years. And I think a person like you has shown that there are edges to be had in betting the NFL draft. So I guess I would ask, how long have you been betting the NFL draft? First of all.
I've only been betting it. They didn't legalize it in Vegas till I think just a few years ago. That was always a frustration because I'm in Vegas and you couldn't bet it. But I had other outlets to bet it. So maybe going back about 15 years. But I've been following the draft closely, since the 70s. And back then, it was nothing like it how it's just how popular it is now. And this was before they were even televising it, and we were called draftniks then. And I just wish you could have bet on it back then.
Right. Right. Yeah, definitely. But I mean, this year's draft, I know you've been saying that this year's draft looked a lot different than a lot of the other years. So could you just kind of explain what you mean by this year's draft class and how this draft sets up a lot different than some previous seasons?
It's different, Kyle, in so many different ways. Like, for instance, do you know for sure who the number one pick is going to be?
Not as much as
No.
most years.
Yeah, yeah. Well, no, most years you know who it's going to be.
Mhm.
Trevor Lawrence, whoever the superstar is, and you don't have this year. This year, you're going to go into the draft pretty much not saying for sure who the number one pick could be. It could be one of three guys. So that's different right there. You don't have a surefire superstar number one pick. You have you don't know how many quarterbacks are going to go. You don't. There probably is not going to be a running back taken in the first round. You have just this great crop of wide receivers, very, very deep, deepest I've ever seen it. But you don't have these surefire superstar wide receivers. You have maybe a tier of about four of them, and then after that, there's about a dozen or that are really good, that are legitimate second rounders, third rounders, maybe even late first rounders. That's unique. And you have this with the defensive line. You have some really good guys, and you have a whole bunch of guys that are going the second and third round that are total question marks. It's the draft seems, Kyle, to really evolve down. It used to be the cliche best athlete available, but now the position premiums have kind of taken over. And I'm not talking quarterbacks unless you got a franchise, a surefire franchise quarterback, which you do not have in this year's draft, which is different. So the premium positions are offensive line, defensive line, and cornerbacks. So those guys, if you're good there, you're probably going to be elevated in the draft.
Yeah, it is. It is unique because you don't have the Trevor Lawrence, the Joe Burrow, somebody like that, where it's just automatic. Yeah, I think. I guess I would ask you too, as you look at the top few teams drafting here, which of the GMs do you think could kind of be the wild card? Like, there's always somebody that throws in some really crazy pick, and everybody afterwards is bashing them. Or, I mean, it was like Josh Allen, which I'm happy to see Josh Allen do well because they kind of like it when, the draft people are wrong and bash a player before he's even started. But, Gettleman's screwed up so many times, obviously. Who's the GM that might throw a curveball at the top? Do you have any thoughts on that?
I think you can change the question around, Kyle. Who's the GM that's not going to throw a curveball?
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, they're all capable of it. About the only franchise you can trust these days is the Steelers. They
Mm.
usually are pretty straightforward. They were straightforward about Najee Harris last year with the running back, and indications at this point are they go for a quarterback at 20 when they're picking, unless they move up and down. So, and it's so much different, Kyle. Going back in the 70s, and I was starting my newspaper career. I was working for a daily in Wisconsin, the Racine paper, which isn't as big as the Milwaukee paper, obviously, not as big as the Madison paper. As far as Packer coverage, they weren't the Green Bay Press Gazette. Yet back then, I had such a love for the draft that I took it upon myself with the paper paying the long distance calls at the time, where I could call to all these GMs and pro personnel directors for all the teams and try to do my own mock draft and try to write this series of draft articles. The Packers were the primary focus, but to do that, and back then they were terrible, so they have a high pick. And so I would call around trying to figure out who would be available for them. And Kyle, I could get right through to all these guys. They would all talk to me, and most of them are really nice guys. But there are a lot of big names. George Young, then with the Giants, John Butler with the Bills, Gil Brandt, who, God bless him, he's still alive. He would talk to me with the Cowboys. I never could get through to Al Davis, but I did talk to Ron Wolf, and I talked to Al Lowcastle. And back then, they would kind of use me as a conduit to find out information. That's what the kind of lack of information back in the 70s was. They'd use a reporter, and I'm not even from a major paper, just try to get info. And these guys, Dick Steinberg at the Patriots, just a great guy. And they would give me a lot of information. They'd all be playing poker. They wouldn't come right out and say, but I could get enough clues where I could figure out what direction they'd probably be going to. But now I think something that gets overlooked here, the GMs today and the pro personnel directors, they can't really open their mouths because of this betting. By the NFL, they're not allowed to give out any information. So you can't even really go to these guys unless maybe it's an off the record type of thing. Instead, you got to try to go through scouts, and you're getting a different appraisal than you're getting, what you are with the players. So it's kind of a twofold thing trying to beat these draft props, Kyle, to make money betting these things. Is you got to A, know all the players yourself, but B, you got to maybe read the top guys with the information to see which way these teams are leaning in what direction.
Yeah, that makes sense. Would you agree that the NFL draft betting is a bigger, easier opportunity to win than just game by game NFL throughout the season? I mean, those lines are so sharp. You're a good
Definitely.
NFL bettor, but I assume you think that these are easier to beat.
I think it's the easiest thing of all to beat. Of any event, any event, and the books know it too. I mean, the Vegas books, they're so gutless. They just came out. Circa just today came out, and we're taping this on Monday afternoon. And Westgate still hasn't come out with their props, with their draft props. This is the Westgate, one of the most respected sports books, with a very, very sharp bookmakers there, and they have to take it down by Las Vegas rules. 24 hours before the draft starts. So this is going to be taken down on Wednesday. You're looking at a less than a 2-day window here in Vegas to do the betting. And I'm sure if the bookmakers from other parts of the country and the world, if they're honest, they'll say, yeah, we hate the draft, we fear it, but it's become so darn popular, we got to put it up or we're going to protect ourselves, high juice and low limits and things. And but yeah, it's definitely beatable, and I don't say that about too many sporting events, but this is beatable.
Yeah, I've found myself just betting the NFL draft that the limits are pretty low in general, and they want to be able to move that line. I think it makes sense. I can understand from the bookmaker side that if they know they're going to get beat up on things like this, that they can't set the limits too high. Like you said, it is kind of frustrating if you don't have very long and there's not as many options. But Steven's done a great job, everybody watching this, with NFL draft picks. Steven, am I correct? You're 26-3 in the last 2 years in NFL
last 2
draft
years.
bets.
Yeah. It's
Wow.
Yeah, it comes down to really the information sources, and that this is a very beatable thing. And I know other people have had really good records too. It's beatable.
Yeah, I mean, the first thing I think when I hear 26-3, obviously I think, wow, that's an epic run, and maybe you're due for some kind of regression because I don't think anybody can go 26-3 constantly. I don't think you would expect to go 26-3, but Steven's going to beat this market long term. I can tell you that. So this is a good opportunity with these NFL draft betting picks. I do want to throw you just a couple quick questions here, Steven. I'm a Bengals fan. I've got the Bengals hat on. I'm still kind of upset at the way they lost the Super Bowl, to be
Well,
honest with you. So,
normally, Kyle, I'd offer you my condolences, but now I offer you my congratulations.
yeah,
There's
yeah,
only one
yeah.
Super Bowl winner, and those guys just had a tremendous year. The Bengals.
Oh, they did,
Really, nothing
and
from
Burrow's easy guy to root for. I like the players on their team. So is Chase. Do you think the Bengals go with an offensive lineman still, or do you think now they go to somebody different?
Well, picking as late as they are, this
Mm,
is going to be one of these best athlete available scenarios for them.
mm.
There's like three or four really good offensive linemen, and the Bengals have no shot at these guys unless they trade up, which I don't think they're going to do. But they could still. There's a couple really good ones that are just outside of that area that are legitimate first rounders, and there's a chance they may fall. Just so much depends on these wide receivers. The Bengals got to hope for a wide receiver run. And if there's a
Yeah.
wide receiver run, then that'll push back a really good offensive lineman or two.
Yeah, I think there's a decent amount of Bengals fans rooting for Linderbaum from Iowa to fall down to them. I kind of skeptical as whether he would fall to them, but uh, yeah, I mean, if there's a position the Bengals don't need, it's wide receivers. So it'd be nice if there was a run on those wide receivers. As far as other ones, I mean, I feel like quarterbacks can be a pretty big, variance with those because people will reach for quarterbacks sometimes. I try to bet a little bit less on quarterback props usually. I don't know. We don't have great quarterbacks here. Who do you think? Which quarterback? I know it's Willis, Pickett, some of those. Do you think any of these guys is going to actually be a Pro Bowl type quarterback long term?
No, no, I don't.
Yeah, I don't
I
either.
I don't like any of them. You know,
Right,
uh, to be honest, doesn't mean that they won't get taken and maybe
right.
taken higher than you would think that they take. I mean, the Panthers, if they don't trade out of six and they don't take an offensive lineman, I mean, their quarterbacks lie for them. They're so desperate. I think
Yeah,
it'd be a major, major reach at six, but that is one of the huge positions that's really got an obvious premium.
yeah, definitely. One other quick question for you. What do you consider a couple of the best resources for NFL draft research? So if somebody watching this video just wants to bet the NFL draft on their own, maybe they just want to have something to watch that night and bet pizza money on it or something. What would you recommend for people to read as kind of free guides or the best things to look for?
Well, back in the day before the internet, I would subscribe to all different types of draft publications. Our Lads Guy, Joel Bushbaum, Mel Kiper when he was just starting out. Now with the internet, it's a whole different ball game. It's two-pronged research. If you're serious about this, you got to do your own research, and you're watching college football all year, so you have some familiarity with these players. But as far as how they project to the pros, you got to understand for your own knowledge, and your own opinion, just how good are these guys. And then on the second phase is you've got to read the right information guys, the ones that are plugged into the league and the teams to try to find out where they're going. Now, if you're asking me for specific individuals with this, I like a number of some of the NFL.com, NFL website guys. I think they have some good opinions. I have respect for some of the beat writers. I try to go to the individual newspapers and read them. And on the flip side, there's a lot of like big name guys who I think are terrible. I don't think they have a good opinion. I'll give you an example. Todd McShay, is
I figured that was
ESPN
yeah.
guy. He's always trying to challenge Kuiper, and I don't think he has a good opinion. And I base this on past years and what I'm reading, and of course he could say I don't have a good opinion. I mean, like, who am I? But so you kind of do your own work and form your own opinions, and after a while you say, well, this guy's making sense. This guy's got good information sources. This guy has a good track record.
Yeah, definitely. I think that makes sense. And guys, I do recommend following along with Steven's plays here for the NFL draft. I know that you are selling your plays, Steven. I partnered up with you to sell that through my newsletter as well, and gotten some people to jump on board. So if you're watching this and you've done that, appreciate it. Good luck, guys. I hope you have some fun watching the draft. But Steven, how can people reach out to you and either get your NFL draft bets or even just your MLB plays or NBA? How's everything been going for you in the other sports as well?
I've been on a nice hockey totals run, and with NBA, I finished the regular season cold, but I've gotten hot in the playoffs, 9-3 on my last 12 NBA plays.
Nice.
I'm available at different websites. Most of them, though, aren't selling draft props. I appreciate you partnering up with you, Kyle. It's a real honor and a privilege to sell them for you. Pregame.com also is selling NFL draft props. As far as picks, I'm on a number of websites, Pregame, Vegas Insider, Sports Capping, Picks and Parlays, Vegas Winners. I also have my own, you can buy picks direct through me, through Twitter. I have my own Twitter handle, Stephen Nover 1 at Twitter. The draft props, they each come with the analysis and the thinking, and I'm laying the price and where I saw where you could bet this at. So hopefully there's enough information in there, and it should be a fun night and hopefully a profitable night.
Yeah, definitely. We hope so. And Stevens plays the NFL draft $49 for all the plays, and there are going to be a decent amount of plays. He already has put out quite a few. So, and Steven, I think you may have a few more. Is that correct?
Yes. Yeah, I was just, as soon as I get off, I'm going to be adding another play, and I'll be adding more plays as we get closer. But remember, this could get cut off. I know they're going to cut it off in Vegas 24 hours before the draft, so you got to be vigilant. You don't want to wait. And usually, if you really like something, usually the price goes the other way.
Yeah.
I'll tell you one that I did not put out for you, Kyle, because I lost the number. But this was when it first came out. I took 5-1 on Jamison Williams being the first wide receiver taken, and I can't put that out now because those odds have really shrunk. Maybe he isn't, but I'll take a shot at that at 5-1.
Yeah, that would be. So is it pretty much down to him or Garrett Wilson as being the top wide receiver?
Yeah, I would say, either one of those two. Garrett Wilson's the favorite. Williams has got a bit of a long shot, but at 5-1 and being the fastest of them all, he's already climbed. Originally, he was like his over/under on when he would get picked in the first round was around 17.5, and that's gone way down. So some of these you got to kind of act fast. Some though are, still good value to them.
Yeah, well, Steven, I appreciate you coming on here today and chatting a little NFL draft. I don't know near as much about the NFL draft as Steven does, which is why I'm partnered up with him on this. But I'm going to be watching the draft. I think a lot of us will be. So reach out to Steven. He did mention already at Stephen Nover 1, his Twitter handle. I'm at Kyle Hunter Picks. And Steven, good luck with the NFL draft, and we'll hope to talk to you again soon.
Yeah, thanks, Kyle. Best of luck to you. Continue your great baseball season, and hopefully we can talk soon.
All right. Thanks, Steven, and we'll see you next time, everybody.